So if after this you feel like, well, Zend Expressive got some interesting properties, I wouldn't mind having a play with it, I'm going to show you how you can actually create your own first Zend Expressive project. Like most frameworks these days, it has a guided installer that you can use to help you create your first app so you don't have to do it all by scratch. I know Laravel does this, I imagine Symfony does as well. Does .NET Core do something like this?
Visual Studio does.
Sorry?
Visual Studio does.
Visual Studio does. Fair enough. It achieves the same thing though, doesn't it? Yeah. Hopefully you all use Composer. Yeah. Good. That's the first user group I can remember talking at with a 100% answer to that. Lots of other places are still using things like WordPress, for example, which predate Composer. Now, one nice thing about Composer is it will actually download skeleton apps for you and run their installers using the create project command. So the Zend folks have created a skeleton app. So you just run that command and it will create a skeleton for you, and then it will ask you some questions to help you populate it.
A wizard.
A bit like a wizard, yes. A bit like a wizard. So I'm going to show you the answers I give to the guided installer when I'm creating a new JSON API. And these screens were accurate as of Monday morning when I downloaded it and did this for these slides. So the first one it asks is what kind of code layout you want. There's three choices. I recommend the modular layout all the time because I'm assuming my code's going to change, modules are going to come and go as functionality comes and goes. So I want that nice drop-in support from day one. I don't want to have to crowbar it in later on. I don't know why it's the default, I'm not even sure why they bother giving options to people, but that's what they do. But that modular structure is part of my code isolation strategy. Next thing it asks is to pick a dependency injection container. Are you all familiar with dependency injection in PHP? Yep, sort of. No. So dependency injection is about when you create a class, there's a factory beside it that knows how to create that class. And instead of hard coding classes into everything to say, okay, I want a logger, so I'm going to make an instance of monologue, for example, you ask the dependency injection container, give me your logger, please. And it will give you the existing logger for the factory then to pass into the constructor of the class you're trying to create. That's what it does. The idea is by not hard coding all these class names everywhere, it gives you the ability to change these dependencies, and as long as the interfaces are compatible, you don't have to change a lot of other code, is the basic idea. People talk about it being inversion of control, but that's a misunderstanding of what inversion control actually is. But people will talk it in those terms. And at the minute, it supports 6 different containers for dependency injection. And I choose the default, which is Zend's own dependency injection container called Service Manager. I've not tried the others. And the reason not is we're not actually talking to any of those containers directly, any of those SDI containers. We're actually talking to the PSR11 interfaces. And they are very, very simple. In fact, basically, it's just a getter. To get, you pass it a class name or a string for a key, and you get back an instance of what you've asked for, or what it thinks it should provide to satisfy that request. Very simple. So all the other features that these, and all the unique selling points of each of these different DI containers, I can't see them. I can't access them. And as a result, I haven't felt the need to go and explore them in this context to see what advantages they give at all. Then it asks about routers, and it gives you 3 choices. And the default is fast route, and that's the one I use. When I've benchmarked my APIs, you can spend quite a bit of time in that framework column. It's quite a bit of overhead if the rest of your code are lean and tight. And I want to bring that overhead down as much as possible because my APIs can get hit millions of times a day for some of my clients. So fast route is the fastest router that it supports at the minute. Then it asks about template engines. And I answer no, I don't want a templating engine because I'm doing APIs. There's no HTML. So I don't need a templating engine for that at all. I don't use one in my API apps today. But at some point, I'm interested in having APIs that are self-documenting that can also throw up a website to tell you what the APIs are, how to call them, and maybe even have a sandbox feature, I don't know. That's very handy if you're throwing up like an internal API that's never going to be shared to the outside world. Now at the minute, the APIs I build are used in the outside world, so they need proper documentation, not auto-generated stuff. The auto-generated stuff, it's okay as a reference. You can't use it to teach anyone an API at all. But when it happens, I'll be using Twig, because Twig does auto-escaping, which is absolutely essential for using the templates. What else have we got? Error handlers. And you get a choice. You get a thing called whoops, or you don't have one. And I don't have one. I'm going to talk about error handling more towards the end of the talk. But the basic idea is whoops is really designed to, you know, these developer bars you can get, which so when you run something, you get all the information about everything else that's gone on. Whoops is designed to fit into that ecosystem. But I don't know about you. If I call a JSON API, I don't want HTML coming back. No. How many clients, API clients, if you get HTML back, just fart out and die? So it's often very spectacularly. Yeah? They're not expecting it. They can't cope with it at all. I only want JSON coming back, so I don't want anything that's going to slip in some HTML anywhere. It's actually going to slow me down and get in the way. So that's why I don't use an error handler. But I do error handling, which we'll come back to. And that's it, really. It goes away, and then it creates a directory structure on disk and puts some populated files in place so you can get started. It's really easy. It takes about 5 minutes to go through the installer. Honestly, it takes longer to download the bloody thing than it does to actually execute it, especially if you're on coffee shop Wi-Fi.